I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
SportsTownChicago.com. Lombard, part of the Beyond Air Network and available on the TuneIn app.
Hell yeah.
Broadcast home for your Windy City Bulls and the Chicago Dogs. We're in a league of our own. Now, here's your SportsTownChicago.com scoreboard update.
At 5:15 on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024, I'm your host, Mike Napolitano, with your SportsTownChicago.com update, powered by the Illinois Media School. If you are interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com. The Chicago Bears have placed running backs Roschon Johnson and Travis Homer on the injured reserve list, along with safety Elijah Hicks, center Ryan Bates, and wide receiver DeAndre Carter today, following the Bears' 7th straight loss. That brings the Chicago football team to 4-9 after starting the season 4-2 and last place in the NFC North on the season. The Bears are currently the lowest team in the league standings to have not been eliminated from playoff contention, but wild card hopes are nearly as impossible as it is for the Bears to finish with a winning record this season. This past Sunday's 38-13 loss to the 5-7 49ers was Thomas Brown's first game as head coach since the Matt Eberflus firing, and the 6th out of 6 road games thus far that the Bears have lost. 3 of Chicago's final 4 games are against each of the 3 other division rivals. The other game is against the Seattle Seahawks. It was announced just a few moments ago that the Washington Nationals have landed the first overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft. So we will be breaking down some draft news later in the show, especially where your Chicago teams are picking 10th and 17th for the White Sox and Cubs, respectively. This has been your SportsTownChicago.com update, brought to you by the Illinois Media School. If you're interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com.
Here to center for Taves. You got to break away. Taves to win the game. Hawks win. Hawks win. Jonathan Taves.
It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. Call your sons, call your daughters, call your friends, call your neighbors. Mark Burley has a perfect game going to the ninth. Oh, trying to get open, fires away. Fire! It's over. The Bulls win at the Buster. Wise makes the catch. What a play by Wise. Mercy. He goes. 1 to go. Takes a game. 2-on-1. Hudson back to throw. Upper shot. Open. Chicago with the lead. The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship, and it's their second three-peat. Alexei! Yes! 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 History! In the net, they score! It's in! They score! The Hawks win the Stanley Cup! The Hawks win the Stanley Cup! A ground ball past Jenks up the middle of the infield. Uribe has it. He throws. Out! Out! A White Sox winner and a world championship! The White Sox have won the World Series, and they're mobbing each other on the field! Binnington, Kurashev plays the rebound for Bedard down low. Bedard! The cross style scores! Unbelievable! Connor Bedard! Dude, that was insane.
Another week here full of Chicago sports that we are going to break down for you, starting off, of course, with the Bears. But before we dive into that sadness, let's talk about where you can find me on social media. That's Mike Napolitano on X, MikeNapoletano, Mike_Napolitano on Instagram, Mike Napolitano 5 on Snapchat, and SportsTownChicago.com and the Illinois Media School are on X and Instagram as well. So go ahead and give them a follow on both of those accounts. Well, it is rinse and repeat because the Bears lost another game here. This was last Sunday, 2 days ago, against the 49ers, who were 5-7 coming into this game. They were 3-3 at home, pretty much as 500 and mediocre as you can get. And the Bears were 4-8, 0-5 on the road. Bears would fall to 4-9, 0-6 in road games this season. Yikes. I mean, it's probably not going to change with the remainder of games that the Bears have on the schedule this year, considering it's all divisional games with the exception of their game against the Seattle Seahawks. That is a home game. The 2 away games still left on the season. That's Monday night. We're going to get into that against the Vikings. And the final game of the season up in Green Bay against their rivals, quote unquote rivals, the Packers. It's not really a rivalry when you can't beat the other team. It's more of a big brother to little brother scenario. Big brother always wins. And I'm not talking about the 1984 style either. I'm talking about your older sibling that used to get away with, well, maybe it was the younger sibling that used to get away with things. Either way, the Bears are not the winning side of that equation ever. And they weren't on Sunday. It was the San Francisco 49ers going up 7-0 after a Juwan Jennings 7-yard pass from Brock Purdy with the Jake Moody kick to add the extra point. Then it was an Isaac Guerrero 1-yard rush to double that touchdown lead in the first quarter. 14-0 going into the second quarter. Why not give it to Juwan Jennings again? He receives one from Brock Purdy. That's a 16-yard pass. That makes it 21-0. And just to add insult to injury, the San Francisco Niners take a 23-yard field goal. Jake Moody puts it through the uprights, and it is 24-0 at the half. Zero offense from this Bears team. Waking up and starting a game late, like they have all season, basically. What a surprise. Rome Odunze gets a 4-yard reception from Caleb Williams. However, the Bears go for a 2-point conversion, and that fails. So in a game where I understand the Bears had a long way to crawl back from, but I don't think 2 points here or there is really going to get the job done, especially when it is not the higher percentage play you could have made there. You could have just kicked the extra point and it's a 24-7 game. Instead, you fail on the 2-point conversion. It's 24-6. That gives the 49ers time to give it to Isaac Guerrero again for another 4-yard rush to make it 31-6. At this point, I mean, the game is already over, but Rome Odunze, 2 touchdowns on the game. That's basically the highlight for the Bears. A 14-yard pass from Caleb Williams, and this time the Bears do elect to go with the extra point in the form of the kick. Cairo Santos puts it through the uprights. That drive took 6 plays to go 60 yards. 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And the score is a palindrome. 31-13 49ers lead. But San Francisco wasn't done. Just to make sure that this game was completely out of reach, Patrick Taylor Jr. gets a 3-yard rush into the end zone, and Jake Moody kicks the extra point. 38-13 is your final. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 San Francisco touchdowns on the day compared to Rome Odunze's 2. I'd say the Bears 2, but it was only Rome Odunze from Caleb Williams. That is unbelievable. I know that this season has been, I think some people still thought there was there are some people out there that still do think that there is hope for the Bears. If they win all the remainder of their games, they're going to go 8-9 and they can contend for a wild card spot because they're not mathematically eliminated yet. That is the most unrealistic of pipe dreams that I think anyone in their right mind could have. This Bears team, this season is over. This season is washed up already on shore with no sign of life. This Bears team is under a new head coach, and I understand that, and this is just the first game, so I'm not going to hold Thomas Brown accountable for the Bears' poor efforts on Sunday. But from what I saw of this Bears team, I don't believe Thomas Brown will be taking the interim tag off of this head coaching job once this season is over. Something to start in the off season with. And then, like I said, just start. There is a slew of things that this Bears organization needs to do in order to have a successful winning football team. Well, the first thing I would put down, of course, is coaching. The second thing would be offensive line for Caleb Williams. The third thing, maybe bring in some veteran quarterback help. I've been on this train that the Bears need to have a solid 1-2 punch in the quarterback situation. They could have had it with Justin Fields and Caleb Williams if they would have kept both of them. I mean, you traded Justin Fields for a bag of dirt anyways, so why not keep both? You don't have that anymore. Now, what I think this Bears team could really use, and specifically Caleb Williams, is some veteran quarterback coaching. And I don't mean from an actual coach. I mean from a guy who has been there recently and done that. I'm talking about a guy that you can look to in a situation and say, well, where have you had success here? How have you had success here? What have you learned from other successful quarterbacks? You're probably not going to get a starting quarterback. Those are going to go to the other 31 teams and solidify their position. They're not going to want to play backup to Caleb Williams. However, there's got to be a name out there, and I haven't looked at free agency yet, so I couldn't even give you a solution as to what name, but there has to be a name out there that has been around the league long enough that is willing to take a back seat or at least split the pocket with Caleb Williams in order to give this Bears team some veteran presence and some success. Another thing, probably defense. This Bears defense started out okay during the season. I know they had some good moments last year. This defense isn't going to cut it. Giving up 38 points to an underperforming 49ers team. Yes, they're coming off of a Super Bowl appearance, but it doesn't look like they're going back this year, and you just gave up 38 points to them. Once again, I understand it's a meaningless game, and the Bears are basically throwing in the towel. They're going to say that they're not, but they basically are. But this is just unacceptable on the defense's part as well. And it might not be the fact that they are a bad defensive structure. It might just be the fact that they're on the field for way too much of the game. And that goes back to the offensive line and what I said about bolstering the offense. Even a couple receivers might be nice for Caleb. He has weapons right now. He's got a great running back in DeAndre Swift. But can this Bears team stay out there on offense longer next year to give the defense more of a rest? Special teams, I think, is okay. And Caleb and a couple of the wide receivers, as well as running back DeAndre Swift, it's fine. I'm happy to go into next season with that. It's something to build upon. But there are a lot of glaring holes here. And if anybody got their wish, including myself, there would be a lot of front office and ownership changes with this Bears organization. Namely, the McCaskey family. Second would maybe be Ryan Poles. I know some people, they're on the fence about him at this point because we all love the moves that he was making early on, and he has done some incredible things for this Bears organization, getting DJ Moore, trading some first overall picks for a lot more than they were maybe even worth now, especially in hindsight. But it's a what have you done for me lately type of business. And Ryan Poles has, and Kevin Warren as well, have tiptoed around the actual issues with this Bears team, despite the moves that they've made, firing coaches, firing Eberflus, firing Shane Waldron, they have said to throw away history. And then when all of a sudden they are in the hot seat and the spotlight is down in their face, oh, but we have to look about Bears history and why players will want to come to Chicago to play here. Oh, it's because of our rich history. Didn't you just say a few years ago that you were going to throw history out the window? So what's the real story here? That is just one organization's way, namely this Bears organization's way of snowing their fans and really just getting them to focus on something other than the underperforming, abysmal joke of a franchise that the Chicago Bears are right now. It's basically that sleight of hand magic trick. And Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, along with the McCaskey family, are the magicians. Don't get fooled. Don't buy in. But if you are still bought in, the next Bears game will be broadcast nationally on one of the biggest football stages known to man, Monday Night Football. Monday, December 16th. The Bears are in US Bank Stadium at 7 p.m. on ABC and ESPN Plus to take on the Minnesota Vikings. That'll be a fun one for the Bears, considering the Vikings are, 11-2 and 6-1 at home. Looks like the Bears are about to go 0-7 on the road this year, especially since they are playing not division leading anymore. That is Detroit, after they've clinched their playoff spot with that Thursday night football win over the Green Bay Packers. But the second in command, Minnesota Vikings, who will most likely also make the playoffs in a wild card spot. As I said, 12-16, that is a Monday night at 7 p.m. on ABC and ESPN Plus. Hey, let's get into another upsetting Chicago team that could be looking to make some moves and quicker than the Bears even. The Bulls have been struggling on
What day it is? Huh? Mike. What day is it, Mike?
No, dude, it's Tuesday. It's time for Mike on the Mic.
Woo-hoo!
Right here on Sportstown Chicago and Twitch.
Hump day!
This is your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com.
Joe's Hot Dogs has been around since 1953, but I promise it's not old news. You don't have to like hot dogs to like Joe's on Plainfield Road in Joliet. Italian beef, hot dogs, shakes, and sides. My family's had a relationship with Joe's Hot Dogs for 3 generations. Golden fries with a tad bit of salt and the perfect amount of crunch come in a bag as big as your hand. And that's just a small. For more on the menu, visit joeshotdogsjoliet.com, bringing that classic Chicago flavor to the suburbs. That's Joe's Hot Dogs across from CVS on Plainfield Road in Joliet.
At the football game, Jim shows the telltale signs of being wasted. He starts flexing for the camera. He refers to his muscles as gunboats. He screams, "How's this for a halftime show?" Jim streaks the field.
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many to drive. But what if you've had just one too many to drive? Never underestimate just a few. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and Windy City News Radio.
The Illinois Center for Broadcasting is now the Illinois Media School. We've been an institution in the Chicagoland area now for 30 years. Because the broadcasting world is always changing, so are we. Not only are we teaching radio and television production, but now you can learn all aspects of the media industry, like web design. You can even specialize in TV or film, sports broadcasting, and even sales. No matter where you are in the Chicagoland area, we have a campus near you. The Illinois Media School. Be on TV, be on radio, beonair.com.
Maybe that was money. Tell me that wasn't money.
Yo, check us out. We are the go-to guys. I'm your boy Space.
I'm your boy MC.
Check us out every Thursday
from 4 to 5 p.m.
We spitting all facts, all sports, all day.
Yes, sir. Who else you going to go to in the clutch?
Lillard, long range three, and it's good!
Keeping you up to date with all the latest sports news.
We are
the go-to guys.
Where else you going to get all your sports news from?
You know.
SportsTownChicago.com.
St. Patrick's Day, the only day of the year that it's okay to not boo the Boston Celtics.
I will show you mercy.
SportsTownChicago.com.
What's up, sports fans? I'm Mike Napolitano, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic right here on SportsTownChicago.com and the TuneIn Radio app. Now back to the show. All right, well, Bulls basketball is remarkable. However, surprisingly, in this week, starting things off with Thursday night's game in San Antonio, the Bulls came out with a 139-124 victory. Yes, you heard that right. The Bulls almost put up 140 points, almost 150 points against the Spurs. That brought the Bulls to 7-6 on the road, 10-3 in their record. Bulls dropped to 11-11, 8-5 at home. Nikola Vukovic led this Bulls team with 39 of 139 of those points. Did I say that right? Yes, 39 of the 139 points that the Bulls scored. Ayo Dosunmu led both in rebounds and assists with 10 and 11 respectively. And just an all-time showing from the Bulls. 36 in the first quarter, 37 in the second, 35 in the third, and 31 to round things out. San Antonio did put up a 40-piece in the third quarter against the Bulls after putting up 35 just before the half, but the 22 and 27 on the bookends of the quarters wasn't enough for this Spurs team to get the victory at home. Then Friday, the Bulls followed things up back home with a match against the Indiana Pacers, who were 9-14 going into this game. As I mentioned, Bulls were 10-13, so two very similar teams here. Unfortunately, it's the Pacers who get the win in the United Center. Bulls still having a problem at home. They are now 3-8 at home. Pacers improved to 3-11 on the road, 10-14, just the same as the Bulls in their full overall record. 132-123 was that score. Tyrese Halliburton, 23 points. Pascal Siakam had 7 rebounds, and Halliburton led in assists as well. Zach LaVine, 9 rebounds from Nikola Vukovic, 6 of those defensive, and Kobe White with 9 assists. Not enough to get the job done, and not enough either on Sunday as the Bulls fall at home again to the 76ers. 76ers are 7-15 on the season. This Bulls team just can't win at home. 3 wins all year at home. They lose to a team who was 3-7 coming into this game on the road. Now the 76ers are 4-7. 108-100, the Bulls fall to this Philadelphia team. They gave up 39 points in the second quarter. They didn't hit anywhere near those marks in any of the quarters that the Bulls had, but they came close, 8 points shy of tying things and going into overtime. 9 points shy of a win, though. Joel Embiid led in both points and rebounds, 31 and 12 respectively. 9 of those 12 rebounds were defensive. Tyrese Maxey had 14 assists. Josh Giddey for the Bulls side of things had 11. Nikola Vukovic had 8 rebounds, and Zach LaVine had 30 points. So there's a lot of names there that you keep hearing consistently in those columns for the Bulls, yet the results overall are just not happening, which is why trade talks are heating up for a lot of Bulls players. In fact, the Bulls organization has come out and said that the store is open. Trades are going to be made. There's going to be a lot on the table, and you don't open the store if you're not going to sell practically everything. Everything has a price on it. Just some things have a higher price than others. Trade talks are specifically heating up for Nikola Vukovic, who leads this team in rebounds every night. He's a consistent rebound guy for this Bulls team. Every once in a while, he'll lead in points, but he's just not the player that you hoped he would be. His ceiling is lower than expected. He's kind of hitting that ceiling. Another player, somebody who is on the IR right now, Patrick Williams. He's still out with a foot injury, and that is still as of December 7th, so he's still on the injured reserve list today. But teams are still saying that the Bulls' numbers and their prices for some of these players are way too high. I mentioned everything in the store is for sale, but some things have a higher price. Well, unfortunately, the Bulls are overvaluing some of the items that they're looking to part ways with. Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball are also on this hot seat, or the trade block, so to speak. Zach LaVine is basically leading the Bulls in points each night if it's not Kobe White. And Lonzo Ball, he came back from one of the toughest injuries ever, and this Bulls team said, wait till Lonzo Ball's back. Wait. We're going to wait, and we're going to compete once he's back. Well, what happened once he got back? Then he was injured for a little bit more, so he didn't really get to fully come back. He's back in now, and you don't hear me saying his name in the points, rebounds, or assists column. So he's not really doing enough for this team. Meanwhile, the man you selected 11th overall in the draft, Matas Buzelis, is only playing 11 minutes a night. If you want your young stars to come up and play better and develop in this NBA, you need to play them. You need to give them that time out on the court. Either send him back down to the G League, or you find more of a window for him to play. As far as the Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine things go, you can get a higher price probably for Lonzo Ball, because Zach LaVine, you're still locked into that gigantic contract. But either way, you're not going to get, I think, what the Bulls think, which is why their numbers have been too high. Same thing with Patrick Williams. He hasn't been on the court. He's been injured. If you want him to have higher trade value, he needs to come off the IR and get a couple games behind him in order to show that he could still, in layman terms, he can still ball. He can still go out there. Because right now the Bulls are 10-15. That is the very last spot if the playoffs were to start today in the play-in rounds. The 10th spot in the Eastern Conference. They are 10-15. In fact, the Detroit Pistons are also 10-15, but they are outside looking to be, or should be, with this quote unquote star-studded of a roster. I'll take you back to the times when the Chicago Black, games, and that on paper the White Sox team looked good. It looked great. It looked like ourselves here. On also in the fact that they have similar ownership. but they're not constructed to be a star-studded cast that can sports move, basically. These players will go elsewhere and have success, but can't seem to turn things on in Chicago. But it's just not working here either. So something has to change for this Bulls team. They have a light week coming up. They only have games on Friday and Monday. That is a home game against the Charlotte Hornets at 7 p.m. on Friday. That is Statement Edition night. So the Bulls will be wearing some special jerseys presented by American Express. And then Monday, the Bulls will be in Toronto to face the Raptors at 6:30 p.m. I should mention that Charlotte game, I don't know if I said, is at 7 p.m. Both of these games are on Chicago Sports Network. But before we get too far into next week, let's take a look at what is going on in the sports world today.
Back to your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com. Scoreboard update.
At 5:45 on Tuesday, December 10th, I am your host, Mike Napolitano, with your SportsTownChicago.com updates powered by the Illinois Media School. If you are interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com. The Blackhawks have announced a ceremony for their most recent Hockey Hall of Fame inductee, Jeremy Roenick. Next Thursday, the 19th, ahead of their game against the Seattle Kraken, the Blackhawks will be honoring Roenick in a pregame forum in the atrium. And then during the game, there will probably be some festivities also. The Blackhawks have also removed Seth Jones from the injured reserve list just today. So this could mean that the newly promoted Kevin Korchinski will be sent back down to Rockford for the time being. Korchinski was brought up along with goaltender Drew Commesso following the injuries of defenseman Alec Martinez, who took a puck to the face during the Blackhawks weekend matchup with the Winnipeg Jets, and goaltender Peter Mrazek, who appeared to have pulled his groin only 11 minutes into the first game of Anders Sorensen's coaching tenure, which was also that same matchup against Winnipeg. Many fans are hoping the coaching promotion of Sorensen will bring up other Blackhawks prospects, namely Frank Nazar, who has 20 points in the 24 games he has played with the Ice Hogs this season. And as I said, defenseman Seth Jones is back. Alec Martinez could be on the way for the back end of Chicago as well. So defenseman Kevin Korchinski being sent back down to Rockford. This has been your SportsTownChicago.com update, brought to you by the Illinois Media School. If you're interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com. What's up, everyone? This is Mike Napolitano, and you're listening to Mike on the Mic right here on SportsTownChicago.com and the TuneIn Radio app.
This is your home for sports.
Red left.
SportsTownChicago.com.
Take that exit and get to the Southern Cafe, home of the Nasty Biscuit on Roselle Road in Roselle. Get over there and try the chicken fried chicken biscuit made with the Southern Cafe's house-made drop biscuit with buttermilk chicken fried chicken smothered in country gravy, topped with shredded cheddar and crumbled hickory smoked bacon. I always say that when you go to the Southern Cafe, you come out with 2 meals with a heaping amounts of food they serve you in every meal. I love to go to a place with outdoor seating. The Southern Cafe has a great outdoor seating area to help social distance, and I get to enjoy my breakfast outdoors. Open 6:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. to give you plenty of time to grab an amazing breakfast or lunch. Now get your butt over to the Southern Cafe on Roselle Road.
Hello?
It's speed walking day.
Dorothy? You're breaking up.
Did I mention we'd be slowing down when we pass the court where those fine brothers play ball?
I heard that.
Reduce your risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Get active, eat right, and maybe even run into Mr. Right. Isn't sisterhood beautiful? For more information, go to everydaychoices.org. Brought to you by the American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, the Ad Council, and this station.
Alert! Alert! Be gone, maxed out credit cards, overdue loans, suffocating interest rates, and relentless collection agencies. If your credit rating is making you and others around you cringe, there's only one thing to do, and that's to turn to the professionals at Creative Credit Solutions. Even if your credit is less than perfect, we'll help you get back on track. You can do it, and we can help. Call today or visit creativecreditsolutions.net for your free credit check report.
Blow the Whistle on SportstownChicago.com. Mondays and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. as we talk NFL.
The game plan was really sound.
The quarterback league. It has been. It still is.
Franchise-defining quarterbacks.
College football.
Will Jim Harbaugh make it through the season as Michigan's head coach?
Some more Big Ten talk.
And here's some things you wouldn't expect.
I would have never expected that.
Get all of that and more on Blow the Whistle on SportstownChicago.com.
Testing. Is this thing on? Hello? Can you hear me? Guys? Somebody help. Hello?
Now back to Mike on the Mic on SportstownChicago.com and Twitch. Well, the Blackhawks have joined the Chicago group of firing coaches and replacing them mid-season. But before we get into that, let's talk about what led to the firing of head coach Luke Richardson. That would be Wednesday's home game against the Boston Bruins. And that was public, not just public, all of it's public, broadcast nationally on TNT and Max. But if you couldn't get it, it was because that was blacked out because there was a simultaneous broadcast here in Chicago on CHSN. Now, the issue I take, sure, I don't have CHSN. Many people do at this point just to be able to watch these games. But what if I wanted to watch that wonderful TNT broadcast that the NHL puts on? It's different than the broadcast from the local side of things. So why one has to get blacked out and the other doesn't, I don't know. Anyways, let's talk about this. The only 1 minute I was able to see, for some reason, the restriction was uplifted or upheld for about a minute. Morgan Geekie takes the puck, streaks down the ice, and scores on the Blackhawks. I see him celebrate, and then the feed cuts out to a blacked out signal again. That was all I got to watch. Apparently that goal was assisted by former Blackhawk Jordan Osterley. Remember that name? Whew, that is a blast from the past. The Blackhawks did have a lead in this one. Alex Vlasic scored in the first minute and 23 seconds of the game. That was assisted by Nick Foligno, the captain, and Connor Murphy. But this Blackhawks team was facing a Bruins team that was 13, 11, and 3. So above 500, but struggling compared to where they want to be this year. The Blackhawks really needed this win. Brad Marchand adds 2 goals in order to give Boston the lead after the Morgan Geekie goal and then extend the lead, of course. Jason Dickinson helps the Blackhawks chip away in this one, scoring late in that second period, assisted by Ilya Mikheyev and Connor Murphy. But then Morgan Geekie seals the deal with his second of the night in the third period, and the Bruins take this one 4-2. That brings us to the elephant in the room. Blackhawks head coach Luke Richardson has been fired. Rockford head coach Anders Sorensen is set to step up into the role, and he did so. He is 117, 89, 16, and 7 in 229 career AHL games in 3 seasons with Rockford. Now, those stats look great. Granted, a lot of what's going on in Rockford these days is the up-and-coming Blackhawks that are good for the AHL standards, not necessarily ready for the NHL standards. Also, 2 very different leagues. So this 117 wins can be skewed. This is the 4th rookie coach that the Blackhawks have hired in a row. You had Jeremy Colleton, who was an AHL head coach for the Rockford Ice Hogs and moved up into the role. Sound familiar? Then you had Derek King, who was the AHL head coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs and brought up to fill the gap when Jeremy. And you brought in Luke Richardson, who had only been an assistant coach on the Montreal Canadiens staff. This was his first time being a head coach in the NHL. So once again, a rookie head coach. And this time you have Anders Sorensen coming up from the AHL Rockford Ice Hogs to coach the Blackhawks. Can't be much worse, though, because Luke Richardson started 8-16-2 this year. I have nothing against Luke Richardson. I think he was a good guy. I think he was a decent coach. The past couple of years, he'd been handed and dealt a tough hand because of the fact that this Chicago team is rebuilding. 2 years ago, when he got this job, the Blackhawks were in full tank mode. Last year was year one of the rebuild. Now, many people get this wrong, and there's a lot of revisionist history going on that, the Blackhawks have been rebuilding for 7 years. No, the Blackhawks haven't won a cup since 2015. From 2016 to 2020, the Blackhawks, under different regime, under a different general manager, not Kyle Davidson, were trying to retool to get back to where they were. You still had Jonathan Toews, you still had Patrick Kane, you still had pieces like Artemi Panarin or Artem Anisimov, things that would help that Blackhawks team at least try to get to the playoffs. They did in 16, 17, and in the bubble in 2020. Other than that, it's been a little lackluster. Then the scandal causes a shift in management. There's a lot that had to go anyways because the results on the ice were lacking as well. So this new regime comes in. You don't get Connor Bedard until the 2023 season. So 2022-2023 was a tank year, and Luke Richardson was behind the bench. Last year was all about getting Connor Bedard through his rookie season. This is still a rebuild. There's still not a lot there. This season was not supposed to be playoffs. However, the Blackhawks were looking at taking steps forward. The Blackhawks took steps back. In his 190 NHL games, Luke Richardson is 57, 118, and 15. A 339 years. You could even include this year. But this year wasn't supposed to be playoffs. It was just supposed to be baby steps forward. And so if your head coach and your management is Connor Bedard, shots from the high this year, it's down to 50.4. And then the constant line shuffling from Luke Richardson, that is one thing that I do take issue with. Connor Bedard spent at least 20 or more minutes with 8 different forwards when the Blackhawks were at even strength this year. That just cannot happen because then there's no way to get into a groove and get some kind of consistency. Connor Bedard, he is top 5 amongst NHLers in rush chances, 1.33 rush chances generated per game. That is up from his chances last year. So if you had an issue with his shots from high slot stat, and I gave you percentages rather than actual numbers, maybe he's just not taking as many or he's taking much more and the percentage is dropping. No, he's creating more rushes this year than he was last year. And the shots are just not coming. All of those stats are per Hockey Collective and Hockey Psychology on Instagram. So we begin in the Anders Sorensen era. Anders Sorensen. There was a clip on CHGO that they're not quite sure what his name really is. I believe it's Anders because of how they've said it in Rockford, and I cover Rockford on WRMN on the weekends with Derek Geyer on the Rise. but I believe it is Anders Sorensen. His tenure starts out with the Blackhawks taking on the red-hot Winnipeg Jets. Nothing like getting thrown into the deep end. The Winnipeg Jets on Saturday. Unfortunately, this was a 4-2 loss, but Anders Sorensen does go down in history as the first ever Swedish coach in the NHL. Blackhawks had the lead in this one on the Alex Vlasic power play goals. If you remember back to those Bruins stats, that's 2 goals in just 2 games for the rookie. But Peter Mrazek goes down with an injury early in this one, only 11 minutes into the game. He appeared to aggravate a right groin. So the Blackhawks had to swap him out with Arvid Soderblom. And unfortunately, the Jets came back in this one. Goals from Gabriel Velarde. But then Alec Martinez did respond. And then Nino Niederreiter and Mark Scheifele in the second and third period. And then a Mason Appleton empty netter at the end of the third to seal the deal for Winnipeg. And they take this one 4-2. Now, if you pay attention to who the goal scorers were for Chicago, Vlasic and Martinez, those are defensemen with 14 shots on goal in this game. 7 of them were from defensemen. Half of your shots were coming from the back end. That just cannot happen. That is an underperforming game. I understand the goalie goes down. Even Alec Martinez, moments after he scores that goal, gets hit in the face with a puck. An unfortunate injury-prone game for the Blackhawks, but they coughed this one up to a much better Jets team. You have to learn how to play with a lead, even if it is against a team that statistics say you don't have a chance of beating. But the Blackhawks had a better chance of beating the Rangers, who are struggling to stay at 500 this year. The Rangers just traded their captain, Jacob Trouba, to the Anaheim Ducks last Friday. A weird midseason move there. But last night was a 6 p.m. start on NHL Network, and the Blackhawks get the victory over the Rangers 2-1. Tyler Bertuzzi opens up the scoring with an assist from Taylor Hall. 6s are wild, as that's Bertuzzi's 6th goal of the season, Taylor Hall's 6th assist. But not too much long after that, in the first period, about 10 minutes later, Will Coyle had a short-handed goal, and that just took the wind out of Blackhawks' sails. The Madison Square Garden MSG was on fire as things are tied up going into the second period. And then the Blackhawks get a little puck luck that they have not seen all season. Connor Bedard and Taylor Hall go in on a 2-on-1 rush and a little bit of passing back and forth. You would think these two have a great connection, and they do, but it's actually a mishap that puts this puck in the net. Have a listen to the NHL Network broadcast.
Oh, cuts in, scores! Taylor Hall! What a game is he having, or what? 2 helpers and a beauty makes it 2-1 Chicago.
He was deacon and he was diving. He lost control. He goes through the goaltender and it's in the net. But give this guy all the credit in the world, and that would be Jason Dickinson. Makes the play, takes the hit to make it, to get it up to Bedard, who feathers a beautiful pass right over there to Taylor Hall. And when 71 gets this puck, watch the stick handle here, brings it back to the forehand, loses it, and still it ends up going in the net. Does he get it back on his stick at the end? No, maybe the goaltender's stick kind of scoops it in at the very end. Look at Connor Bedard.
So, a weird fluke goal for Taylor Hall that was courtesy of CHSN, even though you heard Darren Pang. I believe this was still the national broadcast on NHL Network. But yeah, a weird one. Jason Dickinson does pick up an assist as he starts this play, winning a puck battle in the defensive zones, scoops that up and sends it over to Bedard. Dickinson, his 5th assist on the season, Bedard, his 16th. But Bedard sauces this puck across the lone defender's stick to Taylor Hall. Hall is a lefty, so it looks as though he wants to go. The puck's on his forehand. He wants to go with his forehand to the backhand, but he runs into the goaltender, and the puck just kind of continues moving along the ice. It's an ice burner right into the back of the net without Hall touching it. So an easy goal for Hall. He'll take that one. It ends up being the game-winning goal, and the Blackhawks finally get back into the win column with a 2-1 victory. Let's hope that can continue. Seth Jones was taken off the injury list today, Wednesday, per Charlie Roumeliotis. Luke Richardson said that they're hoping Seth Jones will join the team on their New York road trip next week, but he's not sure when exactly he'll be back on the ice. No change in the timeline. Peter Mrazek goes down with that injury early. So Chicago called up Drew Commesso and Kevin Korchinski from Rockford. It looks as though Kevin Korchinski is going to be headed back to Rockford as soon as Seth Jones gets back into the lineup. Commesso was not on the ice at practice on Sunday, probably due to Rockford being on the road the night before, and still no word on where Laurent Brossoit is. He had that surgery. It was supposed to be an 8-week recovery time. We're going, I believe, on 16 weeks. So he should be back, hopefully in time for Thursday's matchup. That is in Long Island against the Islanders. That is a 6:30 p.m. start time on ESPN+. Saturday, the Blackhawks stay out east, and they play New Jersey at noon on NHL Network. And then the Blackhawks are back home on Sunday to face those New York Islanders again at 2 p.m. on NHL Network. That is Italian Heritage Night and a hat giveaway. One of the rare giveaways for this Blackhawks team this year. Next Tuesday, after another edition of Mike on the Mic, will be against the Washington Capitals at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN+. If Ovechkin is off of the injured list, I might be at that game. So maybe look on Twitter to see if Mike on the Mic happens a little bit earlier than normal. We did get the rosters for the Four Nations face-off as of Wednesday night. I'm not going to go through the whole rosters here for you, but I will tell you that the only Chicago Blackhawk representing any of the countries in this tournament of 4, USA, Canada, Finland, and Sweden, is Teuvo Teravainen. He will be representing his home country of Finland. Unfortunately, Connor Bedard is not quite there yet in order to make it onto the Team Canada roster. That is a stacked roster as it is, though. You're talking Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Mitch Marner, Brad Marchand, Nathan McKinnon, Brandon Hagel, former Blackhawk, Anthony Cirelli, Braden Point, Mark Stone, Sam Reinhart, and Sam Bennett. The Sams from the Florida Panthers. On defense, Cale Makar, Alex Pietrangelo, Devon Toews, Shea Theodore. You know, it's a good roster for that Canadian team. The USA team, if you wanted to know, Matt Boldy of the Minnesota Wild, Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets, Jack Eichel of the Vegas Golden Knights, Jake Gensel of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils, Chris Kreider of the Rangers, Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings, Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs, JT Miller of the Vancouver Canucks, Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders, Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators, Matthew Tkachuk, his brother, of the Florida Panthers, Vincent Trocheck of the New York Rangers. On defense, Brock Faber, Minnesota, Adam Fox, New York Rangers, Noah Hannafin, Vegas, Quinn Hughes, Vancouver, Charlie McAvoy, Boston, Jacob Slavin, Carolina Hurricanes, Zach Werenski, Columbus, and the goaltenders, Connor Hellebuck of Winnipeg. I don't think that was a toss-up. Everybody knew. Jake Ottinger of Dallas, and Jeremy Swayman of the Boston Bruins. All right. So we've got more news to come. Both in.
This is your home for sports. Longtime fans. Sports is like life. SportsTownChicago.com.
What's up, Chicago? If you're ever, and I mean ever, out looking for good urban food 24/7, come down to White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. White Palace Grill is open 365 days a year since 1939. I personally love the steak and egg dinner, but whether you like burgers for breakfast, steak for lunch, or French toast for dinner, White Palace is the place for you. The diner is a 24-hour urban oasis. Come now, come later. Hey, come now and later. We never close at White Palace Grill, located 1159 South Canal Street in Chicago. Visit us at whitepalace.com or order with Uber Eat or Grubhub anytime, any day.
Daddy, when you look at me, I could see your wheels turn up. A major league first baseman, maybe a point guard for a national champion.
The odds of a child becoming a professional athlete are 1 in 16,000. Far-fetched? Maybe. But did you know the odds of a child being diagnosed with autism are 1 in 166? That's right, 1 in 166. To learn the signs of autism, go to autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Go to Lux Barbershop for the best barbers and stylists in Plainfield, Illinois. I go there when I have an important event, date, or I just want to look good. The straight razor shave will have you looking fresh and smooth. Lux Barbershop is open 7 days a week. Go to Lux Barbershop for the finest barbers, stylists, braiders, and massage therapists in the southern suburbs. Check out all their daily deals on Facebook, Instagram, and luxbarbershop.com.
Hi, this is Joe Perry and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. For Red. You know, it's okay to rock and roll and party down. Just don't get in that 2,000-pound bullet when you're done and cocked.
Casters and Rad.
The Chicago Dogs are back on SportsTownChicago.com. Tune in to the season opener against the Sioux City Explorers, Friday, May 28th at Impact Field in Rosemont. First pitch at 7:05 p.m. Hear all the action right here on SportsTownChicago.com.
Well, let's wrap up our week here and start out real quickly with letting you know who won the LXC. They win their league-leading sixth MLS title with a 2-1 victory over the New York. Won an MLS championship. It was kind of rooting for the underdogs, but they just couldn't get the job done. 2 early goals from LA, one from Joseph Pantasil. That was in the 9th minute, and Dejan Jovic in the 13th. New York responded with a Sean Nealis goal in the 28th minute, but like I said, just not enough to get the job done. As far as MLB free agency and signings, we have to talk about the chaos that is going on. And I'm going to break this down more next week when we have time. There's not going to be as much Bulls talk unless they join the club of firing coaches. I just knocked on wood just in case anybody was wondering. However, there's only 2 Bulls games that we will be covering next week, so I'm going to dive deeper into MLB free agency next week. But the New York Mets gave Juan Soto a 15-year, 700. Let me just double check this. We're gonna go with $700 million contract. There was more, but I need to double check the actual amounts here. That I should have had pulled up 7 last week on the Dodgers and all the moves that they are making. And let's just say they've agreed to an 8-year, $218 million deal. The Blue Jays are also working on a deal to acquire infielder Andres Jimenez from the Guardians, that 3-time Gold Glove Award winner. So he should be headed to Toronto. There was another Dodgers deal in here. I'm going to have to find that for next week when we go deeper into this. But this is just getting ridiculous. I mean, this money going to players, I'm not really sure where this, I mean, of course, the owners have oodles of money, but I'm not sure how this is sustainable in the long term for both the MLB, for players, for fans who will then have to pay higher ticket prices to a sport that just a few years ago was complaining about how nobody's coming to fill the seats. There's too many games. There's not a great enough product on the field. And then they think they want to make this product even better with, adding in the golden bat rule. And I'm going to break that down for you more next week as well. But that's ridiculous. It was outfielder Michael Conforto headed to the Dodgers. We're going to see what the money sign is for that one next week. But I also wanted to mention that the White Sox signed Palatine native and former Cubs outfielder Mike Tauchman. So White Sox once again adding to their outfield. They parted ways with Gavin Sheets, and they added in Austin Slater. Said it was their top aimed prospect of the offseason. That was the number one guy they wanted. Austin Slater, that household name, that really big guy that the White Sox are going to do great things with. Well, they came out of nowhere and signed outfielder Mike Tauchman. So that could be a positive for this White Sox team. He was mostly a fourth outfielder with the Cubs. Maybe gets the White Sox a couple more wins. We shall see. The Cubs haven't made too many moves other than some transactional things with coaching. They named Jose Javier their first base coach, Quentin Berry their third base coach, Casey Jacobson assistant pitching coach, AJ Lewis their staff assistant, Mark Strittmatter their bullpen coach, Kevin Pope head strength and conditioning coach, and Mark Weissman assistant coach. The Cubs also agreed to terms with left-handed pitcher Matthew Boyd on a 2-year major league contract. There's also rumors that they could be in the hunt for Garrett Crochet. The White Sox are looking to part ways with their ace and really begin this rebuild, retool, whatever the heck you want to call that dumpster fire on the South Side. But as I said, we will get more into this news next week. As for right now, I just wanted to let you know that the Voodoo Podcast December episode is up now. It was released last week ahead of Silent Night, a Christmas-themed home haunt that I got to take part in over the weekend. There's more actual professional Christmas haunts coming out within the next couple of weeks, and the Voodoo Podcast has all the information on that, as well as an interview with Old Joliet prison historian Christine Johnson, as well as the creators for Silent Night. That is the night out in the news. WRM at 8 a.m. Marcus Mack chimes in. We talk Ice Hawks, Blackhawks, Wolves, Steel, Windy City Bulls, Chicago Bulls, fantasy football, Boomers, Cougars, AU softball, and more. So tune in this Saturday. It'll be myself solo on Saturday. So you'll get a little bit more of me breaking down some hockey and other sports for you. Stream Sports Midwest is where you can find Nihil broadcasted hockey with the voice of Chicago Dogs, Aaron Schellen. You also have Eric Willowhite and Ethan Wiles on there, so check that out on YouTube. And then when you're looking at the Voodoo Podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can also find the Divided Podcast on Spotify. That's Tilo, G-Lead, and The Derek. And then The Parlay, Tilo's other podcast with Kendall Gill. That's on YouTube, Spotify. And you can follow me on social media, Mike Napolitano on X, Mike_Napolitano on Instagram, Mike Napolitano5 on Snapchat. SportstownChicago.com and the Illinois Media School are on X and Instagram as well. That is all of your Chicago sports news for the week. Be sure to make it back here next Tuesday at possibly 5 p.m. We'll see based on the Hawks game for another episode. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm your host, Mike Napolitano, and this has been Mike on the Mic.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m. where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball, news, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.